This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone, welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. Hi everyone, welcome back for another episode of Eat, Explore, Love the podcast. It's so amazing getting to connect with other folks through this podcast and through my travels, and James Hammond of Winging It Travel and Roaming It with Hammo is no exception. We talk a lot about going with the flow, different methods of transportation, and so much more. Hope you enjoy another episode of Eat, Explore, Love the podcast. Hi, James. Welcome to Eat, Explore, Love the podcast. We're so happy to have you here.
Hey, Ashley, how you doing? Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really looking forward to it.
So I know that you are a fellow explorer, and I'm so excited to talk to you about all of the adventures that you've been on. But I've done some research on you, but I also want to hear from you in your own words. Who is James, and how did we get to this point that we're at today?
Do you know what? I'm still asking that question myself. um, who am I? I'm a bit of a mixed bag. I did not travel when I was younger because we couldn't afford it. So, a bit of a working class background in Norwich in UK. And then studied music, really big into music. Went to London to study that at college, got an audition, got in. That was a 4-year course, which is quite long for UK. Halfway, got a bit bored, booked a random trip to Australia. Then I couldn't believe what I was seeing because I was watching cricket with my friends. I was like, oh, wow, I should come back here. And that kind of started the travel part of life. So I thought the best thing to do is get the degree done. Let's finish the degree. And then in the meantime, I'll save money and plan for my trip. So then in 2013, January, I went on my 2-year trip. And I've kind of been working and traveling since then. And now in Canada for the last 5 years. Went on a year trip last year, came back to Vancouver this year, and this is where we are right now. And now I'm a podcaster and YouTube creator, and I still like the odd bit of music, but yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell, I think.
That's a perfect nutshell. So with traveling, did you know as a little kid, I know you said that you weren't able to go on these trips, but did you still aspire to want to travel all these places, or is it really once you got to Australia that you got the bug? For me, it was through reading books and watching The Sound of Music that I wanted to go and travel to all these different places. So
That's my dad's favorite film, I think, Sound of
yeah,
Music.
a good one.
So my dad, for example, we talk about growing up, he doesn't have a passport, right? Never has done.
Mhm.
So he's never been abroad, but he would probably say because of the Sound of Music, he wants to go to Austria or Switzerland.
Mm.
But for me, what I do remember is I used to have lots of maps, and I had this book which was like a breakdown of every country, and it had the flag, population, capital city, maybe a fact about it, and the language they spoke, and maybe a national dish. I kind of remember that. So in school, in geography, I was pretty good. I seemed to know all these capital cities and where in the world it was because I had a little lamp that was a world, right? You sort of spin it and see where it comes, and you kind of like, oh, where's that? So I had a deep intrigue for sure, but I guess the realism was just so far from being achievable, right? I could never go to like Australia. It's crazy. That I didn't really take it seriously, but I always had an interest, I think.
So, as you've started to travel, is this your full-time thing that you do, that you just travel throughout the world wherever you can? Is it just that you're able to go when your job allows you to? I know the PTO time in the UK is very different from what it is in America, so there's more travel opportunity. But how do you make sure that you're prioritizing your travels and as well as supporting yourself?
Yeah, I have always quit my job and travelled. I think that's been a pretty consistent uh, part of my life from 2012 until literally this year.
Hmm.
Whether that will carry on, I'm not sure because I think I'd like to maybe earn a living whilst travelling now,
Yeah.
but that requires you being your own boss or your own business, right? So um, the answer is I've always travelled without an income because I quit my job, so I had a lot of savings to go on. But the reality is I always started from scratch every time at the end of the trip. So this year was no different. Had a year trip, come back in January, needed a job, and went back to my old job.
Mm.
So I'm back there again, and I get 6 weeks a year
Hmm.
pay time off. So it's not too bad for the generic overview of life in terms of jobs. But realistically, if you want to travel a lot, it's not great.
Right.
So I think long term, I'm trying to work out how I can sustain myself and not be tied to a location or a job.
Mm. That's the ultimate. That's also my ultimate goal and what I'm trying to figure out as well. So when you travel, you're going for an extended period of time. So I'm asking for a friend for advice for myself because I traveled for 9 months pretty much nonstop, and I found it quite difficult for the stamina of it all. But I was
Mm,
going someplace new probably every month, if not every 2 weeks.
yeah.
So how do you, when you're traveling for extended periods of time, how do you make sure to take care of yourself while also getting
Mm.
to see as much as you want to see? Or are you just pacing yourself out better than I did in those 9 months that I tried it?
No, no, no. I'm the same as you. I would go full tilt. Last year was an interesting year. Like
Mhm.
amazing for travel. Like we went to 20 odd countries, which is quite fast,
Mm,
but too fast. We didn't really have time to take stock. It was always about the next thing. And I think for me now, being a podcaster and a creator, or trying to be a full time one, I can't travel at the same pace again because you need to sit still and do your content.
mhm,
Like trying to podcast and travel at the same time is bloody hard. So I've learned that from last year, and I think going forward, I don't want to go as fast. So slow travel is the only way forward for me, and that would be a mix of maybe a month
mhm,
traipsing around one country, but then at the end of that month, I might stay in that country for another month, but just chill out and just
mhm.
almost live like a normal human being for a month and kind of alternate that way.
Yeah.
There's one big lesson I learned from last year is that if you don't have a base, so like somewhere you can go back to, I can't see how you can ever slow down because you're always going to have to figure something out, Airbnb,
Mhm.
an experience, or something to get free accommodation. But
Right.
if you somehow can have just a studio or an apartment where you can just go back and be yourself, not travel anywhere, dump your stuff, chill out for a week, that'd be pretty key. So that's kind of top of my list at the minute.
Yeah, I agree with that. I had a home base in Verona, and I feel like if I didn't have that, I would have gone a little bit more insane.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, it's key
yeah,
because travel is great, right? But it does tire you out. You know,
right. And
you
it
can't have too many experiences at once. It kind of gets to you a little bit.
I also feel like your travel changed me in a way that I didn't anticipate. I feel like
Mm,
everybody gave me a warning of living abroad was going to change me in some sort of way, but it changed me in a much more deep philosophical existential
mm.
crises were happening, having very deep whatever, and I feel like having that home base also allows you to absorb and allow you to reflect a little bit on who are you. Like that question I asked you before, of who is James. I got to ask myself that question every once in a while, like who am I now, because I feel like my opinions in life and things are changing and evolving very rapidly based on all the things that I'm exposed to. So I don't know if you had that same experience where you needed a second to just reflect on the person that you were evolving into.
I think that comes in your 30s.
Mm,
I don't really like putting that like you hit 30, your life's got to change because I think it's a load of rubbish, really. But if you're in your 20s, and you maybe don't know much about what career the path you want to go down, but you're really interested in travel, and just do what I've done. I mean, it's not ideal, but like go and work for a year, go for a year, or go for 6 months, or
Yeah.
you can try out these things because then you'll learn, like you said, about yourself and what you think you should be like going forward. I
Hmm.
think you learn that with age and experience, and I think don't forget I left in 2013. This is when I kind of say it started, and I finished my trip, the year trip, in December 2023. It's been 10 years of that, so
Yeah.
I've got a lot of lessons and a lot of thinkings about what I should be doing going forward with travel, and it's much different to what it was 10 years ago.
Right.
But it's great, right? Because we've got these travel experiences in the bank.
Right.
If you're listening now and you're 30 and you haven't traveled that much, I mean, go and do it because when you get to mid 30s and late 30s, you're going to start getting a bit more tired. So try and get these experiences in as much as possible if you can.
Yes.
It's never too late, but like you need to consider that.
Yeah. Speaking of when you're talking about age, I hear a lot about my grandparents. The advice that they gave me was do it now while you're young. Don't
Mm,
wait till you're retired because it's not guaranteed.
yes,
And I have a
yes.
lot of friends in my circle that chose, all right, we're going to get married, we're going to have kids, we're going to do that first, get ourselves financially stable, and then we'll travel later on. And I'm doing the opposite. I'm doing the travel, going and living my best life now, and then if I happen to make time for family and children later, fine. I'm not really precious about that particular, which is very taboo for a female to say, but I
Mm.
that is where I'm at. So what is your advice when you hear people saying what I just said? Because
I
I'm
am
always preparing
to-
to go now.
I am totally 100% on your side.
Yeah.
Um, and I totally agree with your grandparents saying do it now.
Hmm.
Let's put it this way: if you get to 50, let's put it in perspective. You probably have a career, you have a couple of kids. By the time they're grown up and moved out, you're going to be mid 40s at the earliest, probably 50s, right?
Yeah.
I would rather have a lot of experiences in the bank, living in different cultures, different countries, visiting places I didn't like,
Hmm.
places where a bit more bold and rogue. I'd rather have those experiences that I can recall on at 50 rather than thinking, right, now it's the time I've got to get these experiences.
Yeah.
We're always living for the future, but how can you ever live for the present and the future if you don't live for the present now? Like,
Yeah.
you just need to you really need to assess what you want. If you want kids, great, go for it. But if you're thinking, I want to travel so much, but I'll wait until I'm older, completely different mindset. You need
Yeah.
to change that. I think
Yeah.
it's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's risky. How
Yeah.
can you guarantee you'll make it to retirement?
Right. Right. There are so many people that I've unfortunately knew and loved, and once they retired, immediately passed away. And they had so many things that they didn't get to experience because they were waiting until retirement and they
There you
missed
go.
out. And it's, you know what? If you want to have children, in my mind, all my friends that are having children, I'm like, you can have these experiences with your children. And isn't
And
that
that.
more special? Like,
Mm.
what are we waiting for? And granted, if you have a nightmare of a kid, maybe you might want to wait until they're not a nightmare anymore. But like, to your point, life is to be lived in the present. And that's the best place to be. Everybody tells me I'm such a planner and that I live in the future. I'm like, the fact that I travel says otherwise. I'm very much living in the moment and taking every opportunity that comes my way. Whereas
Yeah,
y'all are
good on
living
you.
in the future and planning for your death and your retirement and what are you leaving behind. I'm planning for my life right now. But when you're traveling, because for me, it was about just hitting my buck. I wrote out a bucket list and everything I ever wanted to see, and I just went down the list. When you're picking places, being that you work a year, you travel a year, you work and go back and forth, how do you pick which places you're going to hit um, on your year-long
Mm.
excursions?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, do I have a rationale for this? For the year trip last year, I think we probably felt that we haven't travelled Europe that much. So Europe was a 1 month interrating trip. That was also dictated by the fact that they released month passes for Interrail at half price the year we booked it. So I thought that's quite a good deal. And then there's probably areas of the world I haven't been to. So I was like, Middle East, I've not been to. So I was like,
Mm,
right, let's do 8 weeks in Middle East. So we done that. And then I think we're kind of picking countries that are going east. Like, we kind of started west and working way east to Vancouver, right? Because we had a road trip here. across Canada and US for 4 months in a camper van. So we
Oh,
knew we
wow.
were coming back here in the June. So we're like, well, you can fly direct to here from Seoul in South Korea. So let's finish there. So we had like these little areas, and we love Nepal. So let's go to Nepal. Done some hiking there, and Taiwan was like on my list. So I think going forward, I'll probably pick an area. So I've got like a month trip in November,
Mm,
and I've not been to Central America. So I'm like, right, okay. So I'll just fly into El Salvador, and
okay.
I'll make my way overland to Mexico City. Don't really know what's in between. I've got a few things I want to do and see, but
Yeah.
let's just see how it goes. That's kind of my thinking, I think. Not too much planning, apart from the real unique experiences you have to plan for. So one could be, for example, Cappadocia, doing a hot air balloon ride.
Mm,
You need to be flexible. You need to say, well, for 2 days, the weather might be rubbish. So you need to stay there and wait for it to be okay, right? So those like, and the Alps train over the Alps last year, I booked that for Emma's birthday. That was obviously a set in stone thing. So like little things like that, but
right.
mostly just winging it as
That's
per the
awesome.
podcast name.
So I hear you mention a lot of traveling with people. Is that usually how you travel, or do you do solo travel? I primarily do solo travel. Very rarely am I
Hmm.
traveling with one other person. So, is your preference with someone else, or you're just going with the flow like you are when you're planning out your trip? Whoever wants to join, you can.
I need to be careful what I say here.
Uh,
No, me and my partner travelled to 35 countries, I think, together.
okay. Yeah.
But the trip in November is solo. So I am all for with, and my first trip in 2013 was with a friend,
Mm,
and then the year in Australia was on my own. So I kind of
yeah.
mix it up. I'm happy to go solo or with a friend or a group of friends. Group travel where it's like a random group, not really done it. Done it once in Lebanon to try it out, and I loved it,
Okay.
but too intense, too fast. I was knackered.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not like really a strong believer in either. It's just whatever you fancy or feel is most comfortable for you.
Yeah.
But solo travel has this extra thing where you can really, it's a real test because you might be in certain situations or days where you're really on your own.
Mhm.
So as long as you're comfortable in your own thoughts, it's fine, right? But I can imagine some people get a bit, yeah, a bit stuck with maybe some thoughts they don't want to think about, and it can make the trip a bit downbeat, maybe. Uh,
Well, hence how this
yeah.
podcast and how this blog got started that I have been doing. I
There
needed
you
to
go.
let out a place to let out the thoughts and people to talk to.
Yeah. I had someone on my podcast. I asked her a question. I said, "What do you think about people who can't travel solo? They always have to go with someone or with the same people." And she just come out and said, "Well, they've got codependency issues." I'm
Mm,
like, "Okay." And she's a female. You know, she can travel to
yeah.
120 countries on her own, and a person of color as well. So, yeah, real like inspirational woman. But that was quite a cutthroat answer, I thought.
But also there's some truth to it, which is funny. I mean, it's one thing if you're married to someone and that, or they're your partner and they travel with you, but it's another thing if I'm very particular about, ever since traveling by myself, I'm very particular now about what type of
Yes.
personality I'm willing to travel with. And most times I do prefer just my own company because then you could take it at your own pace. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I also find I have celiac as well. So
Ah,
when traveling with other people, it's just easier for me to set the terms of how I'm going to eat, where I'm going to eat, what will happen. And, um, but it's also with solo traveling, I feel like I can do anything now after doing it for
yeah.
9 months, pretty much 98% of it by myself in a variety of different countries that are willing to. I'm also a very tiny person. So I'm an easy target in many ways, and it makes me feel. I felt quite powerful that there's nothing I couldn't do after doing it solo. Whereas when I've traveled with people, again, there are certain personalities of people that I've traveled with where I'm like, oh, that was made to feel stupid every day, and I know I'm not stupid.
Yeah, that's real.
Or I just need someone with a little bit more empathy or a little bit more understanding or can I think because now when I'm traveling with people,
they want me to just do everything because they know I
Yeah.
know how to do it. And I'm like, it is exhausting though, traveling by yourself. And if anything goes wrong, it's a lot for it to all be on you. So that's also the negatives of traveling by yourself, where when things have gone wrong, I've wished I had someone to balance it all out and bounce ideas off of and help me solve the problem rather than me just be
I
in it.
I totally agree. I think I do when I travel solo. I tend to push myself comfort zone level wise.
Yes.
So I know that in November, El Salvador overland. I know they've cleaned up their pass because they had a bit of a violent past. I think it's now on the up,
Hmm.
so it's not as like hairy as it was.
Hmm.
But I do want to test myself to get in those situations, take local transport, try and speak Spanish to get where I'm getting to. I want to push myself and get
Yeah.
out of the comfort zone because I do really think it's important. Just not all the time, but like if you get that little nugget of information or you've learned a lesson, I think it's key going forward after the trip, right? So I do tend to push myself when I'm solo. That's kind of a little mantra I have.
Yeah. It's a great one.
Mm.
So, when you're planning out your trips, are you someone that tries to take as much public transportation as possible for what? So, as an example, for Europe, I was kind of green to all the different trains that you guys had and how it was so much better than in the US. So, I was taking planes absolutely everywhere, but
Oh,
I knew enough to do Skyscanner and do it that way, but
yeah.
still those fees rack up. How do you choose how you're going to travel from one place to another, especially if you don't necessarily have that home base?
Yeah, well, that's dependent on the area of the world, right?
Hmm.
So I know the trip in November is going to be chicken buses, which is like the local transport, or hitchhiking if I don't want to take a flight. That's the only two options I can see. There's no trains. There's probably no flights. Well, there is, but it's expensive. There's no other option. Maybe a bus, like a tourist bus or something.
Right.
But Europe, I'd do train travel. Amazing. No other way.
Yeah.
I'd maybe drive it potentially.
Okay.
But North America, like we did last summer, driving. That's camper van. No other question. I'm not flying unless it's a holiday.
Yeah.
So I'll be
Especially
driving.
if it's a holiday, you should not be taking a plane. That's when it all goes
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah. And then Asia last year was flights. We took flights from Turkey to each country in the Middle East because
Mm.
we actually tried to get a bus from Dubai to Oman, but they were booked out by locals and we couldn't get there. So yeah, too many flights last year in that part of the world. And then when you're flying from like Middle East and Nepal, I mean, there's no other way to get there but flying, right? And then Nepal out to Thailand, you're flying like there's no other way, right? You can make it unless you've got unlimited time. You can try and get there overland.
Mm.
Yeah, it depends on the part of the world. Like China, Japan would be train travel.
Yeah.
Africa, I'm not so sure. Africa would be like buses, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
That's on my list. I have to figure out how to do the gluten-free portion of it, and then I'm hoping I can go. But with when you're talking about hitchhiking, is that something that you've had to do in the past and that you have gotten comfortable with? That that's just the off the cuff, that's your answer, or
That's something I'm not comfortable with.
okay, good to know.
But I have done it. But I have done it in the past. Yeah. um, a couple of examples would be I was hiking the Camino in Spain and I was physically done, and I just hitchhiked the last like mile back to the hostel. This guy, I can't remember his name, picked me up. He's French, uh,
It's always a
and he
French
didn't.
guy.
Yeah, but he didn't speak much Spanish, and I didn't speak much Spanish. And he's like, "Do you speak English?" I'm like, "Mate, I'm English." He goes, "Oh, okay, okay, come in." Um, yeah, nice guy. Like, gave him a sticker for the podcast, and yeah, got a photo of him. So that's pretty cool. I think in Malaysia we had to hitchhike back from a cave on some guy's truck. So that was normal. In Thailand and Vietnam on back of someone's bike or in a truck. Like, yeah, it's not something I actively do, but I'm not against it.
And so give me tips if I ever needed to hitchhike. How do I know that I am not about to be a true crime story in a true crime documentary because I hitchhiked? Or is that just
Yeah,
a gamble?
there's two there's two things here. As a woman, it's obviously different, so I
Right.
can't appreciate your concerns because I don't have them as much. Um, which is a real thing to discuss. You have to, as a woman, if you're hitchhiking, you're going to have to really weigh up the risks.
Mhm.
But then saying that, I think the second part of it is actually not as bad as people think.
Right.
You probably hear the bad stories because they are bad, but people hitchhiking every day, and I think certain countries are good with hitchhiking. Like I think like New Zealand, Canada, that some of the best countries to hitchhike.
Mhm.
But I've got friends who hitchhike Iran, and that was absolutely fine, you know. But then someone I know who I came on the podcast hitchhiked in India said it wasn't worth it because it's too much hassle.
Mm.
Um, uh, he found on the whole they're trying to get money out of you because they think that's what the transaction is. So you need to pick and choose your countries, and then hold your sign up on the road. Get patient because it's not going to happen straight away, and then you're going to have to trust your gut when you get stopped over by someone. Or yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I don't know what to say really.
I just never heard someone doing it before, so I'm like, well, you're here.
Oh,
I might as well ask the question.
okay,
Get
yeah,
the
yeah. Well,
experience.
I've never had any problems, so
No, I've
it's
never.
been good, touch wood. But if I connect with you in December, I'll tell you my stories in El Salvador and see if there's anything different.
Perfect. Don't hitchhike after that. Yeah.
Let's hope not.
So, for when you're talking through, I want to talk about your podcast and your YouTube channel. What, how do you, what made you decide to start all of that? And what's it called? What's your YouTube channel called? What's your podcast called that everybody can go check out?
Yeah, so podcast is Winging It Travel Podcast. That started 3.5 years ago during COVID, and that is primarily interviewing guests. And I did do a lot of episodes last year that was solo episodes for my trip because I was traveling at the same time. So there's a lot of content on there of real time travel, as opposed to when that's been recorded and released. So there's a mix of that. Up to 150 guests a week on Monday, which is quite cool. And then my YouTube is called Roaming with Hammo because my last name is Hammond, so I shortened that. And that's purely purely based on my trip that I've done last year and previously if I got the content for it. So you'll see lots of countries on there that I've traveled to the last 18 months, like Greece, Europe, Middle East,
Mhm.
Asia, and North America road trip. And that'll be documented on in November as well. That trip will be on there. So yeah, the difference in November is it's the first time I'm traveling with the YouTube
Okay.
because all my YouTube stuff at the minute is post. So
Hmm.
I'm creating a script around the content I've got and my experiences from my diary. I used to write stuff in my diary for the trip, but this will be different because I'll be on the go. So like if I'm hitchhiking, I'll be probably there standing going, "Hey, I'm about to hitchhike between this place and this place in El Salvador to see if we can get a ride," and it'd be that sort of content I'd imagine. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
That's exciting. I can't wait to watch all of it. So I'll know if hitchhiking is a good idea or not. I'll be watching in real time with you. But so with your podcast and with your YouTube videos, and you have the collection now, do you feel that you're now able to give tips and content such as that on how to best travel or places that people might not necessarily have thought to go to, like in the Middle East? Um, that any recommendations that you have based on all of what you have created and how people should, what they should be looking out for and what they should do and where they should consider going? That was a lot of questions.
Yeah,
One, I'm so sorry.
no, that's great. Recommendations, 100%. I do actually ask on the podcast places people don't like going to, and
Mm,
I think that's quite key because not everywhere is a positive experience. But recommendations, yeah, if you're listening right now, Middle East, it's topical. It's topical because it's obviously in the news.
right,
And maybe Lebanon that I went to last year is probably not the best place to go at the minute because
right.
there's rockets going over left, right, and centre. There's actually rockets when I was there, so that was in pre-October times where all this stuff happened, right? So I would say if you're nervous about Middle East, you don't need to be, but that is a place where I would recommend a tour just to get your feet in the door and just to see what the culture is like. Each country is different, I know. If you really want a safe and easy way to start in Middle East and just get a taste for it, then places like UAE, so Dubai or Abu Dhabi, or something like Kuwait or Bahrain, very small countries, great transport links, easy to get to, cheap prices, believe it or not, compared to a lot of the world in terms of flying there. And it's just an easy way to travel in the Middle East.
Hmm.
And Jordan is a great place as well, a bit more rustic.
Mhm.
but it is built for tourists, right? You've got Petra there and stuff like that. So in Jordan, for example, we did get a car out. We rented a car and drove around the country for 2 weeks. And honestly, the roads are great. The transactions are pretty easy. Everyone speaks English.
Mm.
And Jordan, because they used to be part of the, oh, I need to get what I say here. Britain did colonize it a little bit, so they do all speak English. So if you want that easy translation for your language, then Jordan's a good toe dipping one into there, and it's a pretty easy way to travel. And if you want a bit of an out there country, Oman
Okay.
is an amazing place to see. It's huge, lots of desert, but the people are so welcoming, right?
Mm.
And it's a rich country, so lots of grand buildings. The roads are the best I've ever seen.
Mm.
Um, Aircon everywhere. You can wild camp, so you can go and take your tent anywhere. Real safe. So there are a couple of countries in the Middle East I'd recommend. And if you want other recommendations, maybe somewhere other than the Middle East, I do love Japan and Nepal. I think those two are my favourites for
Mm.
different reasons. And Bolivia was a bit of an eye-opening experience, but amazing country as well. A bit
Yeah.
rustic in South America. So they're the ones I normally tell people, but they change every day, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any place? I have one city that I would tell people not to go to and not recommend. But do you have your place that you're like, Don't go"?
God, don't go. I have a place that I didn't like, but I
Okay,
can't say don't go because I think I need to go back and to see it for a second time to make sure. And
that's
that place is Bali.
okay.
I did not like it when I was there, but I think I didn't have the best planning. Actually, talked about planning earlier.
Okay.
Bali, we didn't plan that well. We stayed in Kuta, which is like the main capital city. It's where basically the young Australians go to party. So it's a bit like Cancun, I suppose.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if you go to Mexico, like, oh, where do you want culture? Let's go Cancun. No, that's not the place to
yeah.
go, is it? A bit like that. So I need to go and see other parts of the country and stay in other parts. So I need to go and well, it's a part of Indonesia, right? So I need to go and check out the island a bit more, and make that recommendation final. So didn't like it. I wouldn't say not go there, but just be wary that Kuta's not very nice. And other cities I didn't like. I think I've been in some hairy places before that I didn't like. I think there's a place in Chile on the border called Caliente.
Mm.
It's a border town with Peru. That was not a very nice place to be. Um, yeah, there isn't too many places. I don't like London. That might be
Okay.
controversial. Um,
Well, when you've lived there for a period of time, I can imagine you being over it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you come to Canada, don't bother going to Winnipeg or Regina. Waste of time. There's other places. um, yeah, I don't actively dislike anywhere. I just think there's lots of places to choose in the world. You just need to choose wisely. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
so
so if you don't like, so I'm going to ask a cheeky question. If you
mm,
didn't like London in the UK, is there a place that you recommend if anybody's going to the UK for the first time that they should go and visit?
oh, yeah, there's loads. There's loads, believe it or not.
Good. I'm
Uh,
glad. I feel the same way. I've traveled a good chunk of it. I want to do more, but I've never
okay,
found a place I didn't like. So,
if there's if you're looking for like maybe like a road trip, like 2 or 3 weeks in the car or camping, and areas to check out, and this is what I would do if I was going back. I'd either go to Scotland and do the NC 500, not in peak time because that'd be chaos, but like in the shoulder season, or the southwest, so
okay.
Cornwall and Devon. Those two places that really are top of my list. And I'm gonna chuck in. It's not UK. I'm gonna chuck in Ireland.
Okay.
That's a place outside of Dublin to go and check out. I've not been. It looks incredible. So they'd be places that I would do for road trips. But if you're looking for cities, Bath is a pretty incredible city.
Mm,
I think a popular one is Bristol. Never been.
mm,
Cardiff in Wales is an amazing city. I do love that place. And up north, I do like Sheffield's okay. It's pretty cool.
mm.
Yeah, I've never been to Leeds. I can't comment on that. Not really been to Manchester. I do love Liverpool as well. I'm a bit of a fan of Liverpool, but Liverpool can be a bit edgy, so it depends what you want. But
I say Manchester is probably a good like home base if you're going
Okay.
to be staying in northern UK. Um, and I did the day trip to Liverpool and everything. I've been in Sheffield. I house sat and dog sat for people in Sheffield, and it was a very adorable place. And I
Mm.
stayed for 2 months in Leeds, and there's not much there. It's like on the tour they're like, oh, there was an industrial factory here at one point that
Yeah.
burned down, and now there's a bank here, and look over there's another bank. But as far as if you wanted to live in that city life but also live a calm day to day, I really liked Leeds for that. But here, I don't mean to jump in and interject, I just really loved
No,
Leeds a
no.
lot.
That Yorkshire county, so
Mhm.
Yorkshire's huge, right? It's got Leeds in it, Sheffield in it.
Right.
If you're talking about another area that's not southwestern Scotland, that'd be a nice little place. Go and check out all the little villages in the Dales,
Yeah.
Yorkshire Dales. That'd be pretty cool and pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My coworkers were making fun of me because in Sheffield, when I was watching someone's dog, they're like, okay, just if anybody asks where you are, you're in Yorkshire County. And so I was like, okay. So I told people at work, oh yeah, I'm in Yorkshire County, and they all were laughing at me, and they're like, we don't say Yorkshire County, it's just Yorkshire. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. That's what the people told me to say. So that took months for me to undo that damage that I did in my credibility.
The Yorkshire people are very proud of their
Yes.
county.
Yes.
Probably, arguably, in UK, arguably the most proudest uh, county people, if you like. They love their county.
Yeah.
I don't really have that sense of where I'm from. Like Norwich and
Mhm.
County of Norfolk is known for its like beaches and slow lifestyle. I don't really have that like strong affection for it, but people in Yorkshire love it. Yeah,
um, Also seemingly with Manchester and Liverpool with their football teams too.
of
There's a
course.
strong passion, yeah. But
Yeah, very. Don't get them mixed up. Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
no, never. Um, so my last big question, and then I end every episode with the same rapid fire questions, but I feel like there's this big expectations versus reality, and we talked a lot about. So I had very low expectations for Leeds because I had no idea what it
Mm.
was. And another city that I rant and rave about is Bucharest in Romania because
Oh.
I had not heard anything about it. If anything, it was like negative things from like Cold War era, and no one people forget to
Mm.
like leave the 90s that things have happened since then. So
Yeah.
I had a huge positive expectations versus reality shift with those two cities. And then, of course, I've had the opposite where I put certain cities on such a pedestal and then they really let me down. And I think Munich would be one of them. I think it
Okay.
is a perfectly lovely, wonderful city, but I think my
Mm.
expectations were just too high for it. Um, what, how do you deal or cope with that? Or what has your experience been with that?
Yeah, expectations are hard, right?
Right.
Some examples I've had where I had no expectations, but turned out to be amazing was South Korea. We went to
Mm,
Seoul, the capital city, because you're going to fly in or out of there, probably, right? I just read online that people find it a bit grey, a bit boring, and just a bit
mm,
big. So I had no expectations, but actually, one of my favourite cities from last year. And I just completed my YouTube video on it, I think a few weeks ago.
mm,
Loved watching all the stuff back and like, oh yeah, that was amazing. Like,
yeah.
we'd love to go back. It's a huge place as well. So expectations. Bali was probably a victim of that. I probably had high expectations, and I just thought this is not what I thought it would be. I had Bali in my mind as like a paradise.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
absolutely not. If you want paradise, then something like Cook Islands I went to when I was living in New Zealand, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like that's proper paradise. So expectations, I probably have low expectations, probably places that I just haven't talked about or know much about, and I on purposely don't try to do too much research
Mm,
pre-trip. I try
yeah.
to learn as I go because you start saying, "Oh, this place is meant to be amazing," and you go there and it's not. I, I just think it's going to be a bit of a like a low ebb on your trip. So I think
Right.
like El Salvador, I don't really know much about the country. I'm going to keep it that way and to see how it goes. And Guatemala, I know more about because it's been more travelled and there's much more written about it. And Mexico, we all know. So I think November will be interesting.
Mm,
And last year, what I was really surprised with and how much I loved it was the train travel in Europe.
mm.
I never really done it, and the trains work; they're on time.
Yes.
You can go anywhere. I was like, oh, this is so unlike the UK or North America.
Right. Yeah.
So
The
that
UK
type of
is still
travel,
the UK is still much better than the US. I can tell you that much.
yeah, that's because it's historical, right? Because we obviously had it from years ago, but we just don't build trains anymore.
Right.
We just don't maintain them, don't build them, don't create new high speed ones like Japan
Mm,
and China.
right.
It's weird how far we've fallen behind, despite being like almost number one like 100 years ago.
Right.
Strange.
Right.
And the one trip we always hark about in terms of expectations, which was amazing, was the road trip across Canada and US in our little camper van. We always, when we get in the car to drive somewhere locally, it's like, oh, just remember we were like last year, no real plan, just going east for like 2 months or 3 months. Oh, yeah, that type of travel where you're living day to day, where it's like, where are we today? Like, let's look on the map. That's about a 4 hour drive. Let's see what that's about. Can we stay somewhere like campsite? Is any campsites? If not, we'll just stay in a petrol station or gas station. That sort of travel was probably my favourite. Just open road. We've got a whole summer because you are bound by the weather. So we've got till mid October last year, start of November. Let's see how far we can get and get across. And we saw Canada. It's amazing.
That's incredible. I know that my mother and aunt took a train ride across Canada, and they said it was incredibly beautiful to see. So that's,
Is
I
that the
think
Rocky Mountaineer?
I'm sorry.
Is that the Rocky Mountaineer train?
I don't know.
Goes from here all the way to, is it Toronto or Montreal?
I
It's
think
quite
they,
expensive.
yeah, I think they did maybe not as, I think they did Vancouver to Toronto. That might have been what they did.
It's like 5 or 6 days, isn't it? You stay on
Yeah.
the train.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
Mm,
Um, so they're still raving about how beautiful it was. So I would like to do
yeah,
that in some place like Ireland, maybe.
yeah.
But I have to also learn how to be comfortable doing nothing but staring out into the abyss for a while because I'm pretty active in my journeys. But um, that actually reminds me of going into the rapid fire questions because I've
Oh,
taken up a lot of your time. But
no, anytime.
I just ask in the eat, explore, love vein, just some few rapid fire questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I'm going to go out of order because we were just talking about this. Do you prefer a city or a vacation? Sorry, do you prefer a vacation that requires you to be active or relax?
Oh, don't take vacations. If I did, relaxed.
What is your favorite food city that you've ever been to?
Food city would have to be food city. Bangkok.
Ooh, okay, cool. I usually hear how that area of the world is not great when it comes to food. So, okay, I'll have to,
What, Bangkok? Oh, wow. Some of the best street food in the world.
yeah, I'll have to figure out. Maybe it's because I'm in celiac food circles, so maybe I have to widen
Ah,
my horizons. But
yeah.
city where you've learned the most about yourself.
Oh, I can't say Bangkok again. Let's go. Learned a lot about myself. Uh, Rio de Janeiro.
Good one. I haven't heard that one before.
Mm.
And my last question for you, James, and thank you so much for joining me today. But I want to know, how can the people find you and follow your journeys and such?
Yeah, so they can go on YouTube and chuck in Roaming with Hammo. I'm there every week with a new episode. And as we speak today, today's is Taiwan. So if you're interested in Taiwan, we had a week there. And then for the Winging It travel podcast, I do have a website. They're both got websites. They're both their names. So wingingittravelpodcast.com is my website. And you can find that podcast on every platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And Roaming with Hammo YouTube has its own website, roamingwithhammo.com. So all links, whatever you need on both of those websites for both podcast/channels.
We'll put that all in the show notes for the description of this podcast. So we'll make sure
Lovely.
everybody's going and visiting you. Well, thank you so much, James. I definitely would love to follow up with you once you've had your big November solo trip. So we'll have to connect again and hear about the trip. But it was lovely chatting with you. And thank you so much for joining.
Ashley, thanks for inviting me on. It's been a great chat. Really enjoyed it. And let's stay in touch.
Yeah. you so much for joining me on this episode of Eat, Explore, Love, the podcast. Please make sure to check out James's podcast and YouTube channel. We'll have links in the description notes of this podcast episode. And can't wait to keep up on his travels and hitchhiking abilities. Till next time.
Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on eatexplorelove.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mienka.